Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Bobby Harvey with a brand new edition of live train watching from Ottumwa, Iowa. It's been a long time since I've done a live stream. In fact, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of October last year since I've done one of these live streams anywhere. Now, that particular live stream was in Galesburg when I made a little trip on the Zephyr over to Galesburg and back to Ottumwa. And that was the last time I did a live stream. So this is the first time that we've done a live stream since October of last year, the first live stream in 2024. And we are going to start things off tonight with just kind of seeing what's going on down here. Now, so far, I have not heard much of anything on the radio, and I have seen no trains. I've been down here for probably the past 10 minutes or so. And I have not seen any sign of anything yet. So that's why I'm kind of, well, there's a blip on the, I thought that was going to be the BNSF, but that's not. That's a different frequency. Unless that's the Creston side of things. We'll see. So anyways, we are in the car here at the Market Street grade crossing, the Market Street parking lot, or the hydro plant parking lot, whatever you want to call it. Waiting to see if anything's going on, and if not, we might drive around for a little bit just to determine if anything's coming. Let's see. Okay. Now, since I did my last live stream, and again, this is, it's been a while since I've done one of these. YouTube has kind of changed the live format, starting the live videos, so it's a little different. And we'll see what this is. This is something on the BNSF. Somebody close, because you can hear them toning up. But I've not seen any trains, so I don't know if it's actually a train or if it's workers or what. There is some work going on in the Ottumwa area on BNSF. We'll talk about that a little bit later as the night progresses. So I don't know. I mean, it is a Monday evening. I don't know if there's still track workers out and about, that they're toning up the dispatcher, or what the deal is. We'll have to listen and see. So we got a lot of... we got 14 people watching right now. Some familiar names here. Dakota's here, welcome. A-Train's here. A lot of people that tuned into my live streams last year and are back again. Dakota asks, I did see some construction vehicles down near the viaduct. Is that what you're talking about? Yes. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Once we determine what's going on the radio. Somebody's trying to dial up dispatcher. They've been doing so for the past couple of minutes, as you've probably heard. I don't know what it is, because there have been no trains since I've been down here. And like I said, I've been down here for the past 10 minutes or so. So whether it's track workers or what the deal is, we will have to wait and see. Now, the view we're looking at right now, we are looking pretty much north right now. So the BNSF tracks, which are directly in front of us, that's the Ottumwa subdivision. Main 2 is closest to us. Main 1 is the track farthest from us. And the left side is going west. Right side is east. Okay.
Roger, do you understand? 4B 6365 is 9.
Okay, it's a train avoiding a Form B. So I don't know if that means they've already gone by or if they're about ready to go by. My guess is they might be about ready to come by because I've been down here for, like I said, about 10 minutes and I've not seen anything go by, so we'll see. But that was the Creston dispatcher. So they only talk to the Creston dispatcher when they're on the west side of what BNSF still calls the IC&E RRX, which is the diamond on the west side of town with CPKC. Might be an eastbound though. Now right now, ever since they got rid of not only verbally issuing track warrants over the radio, which BNSF no longer does, at least on this line. But years ago, when I first got a scanner, we have to go all the way back to 2007, I think, is when I got my first scanner. I kind of dabbled around with one of my mom's scanners for, a little while in like 2006, I think. Didn't really get into listening to the railroad radio frequencies until another year, and then I got my first scanner. Back then, they were still doing track warrants here in Ottumwa. BNSF was still issuing track warrants to trains going east and west. They would get new track warrants for eastbounds from the IC&E RX to Burlington, and going west, they would get new track warrants from the IC&E RX to points west, which it could be, Albia, which is usually Maxon or Halpin. It could be all the way to Creston. But back then, it was really easy. I mean, it was kind of like fishing in a barrel in a way. It was really easy to know when trains were coming by on the BNSF because every train would get a new track warrant at the IC&E. So you'd hear the dispatcher issuing a track warrant to any train going eastbound or westbound, and you'd have plenty of time to get down here. Now, they did away with track warrants going west because the segment of track from the west all the way to Albia was converted to CTC several years ago. And obviously, when you've got CTC signals, you do not have to issue track warrants to trains anymore, which is much better from a railroad perspective. Trains can move along better. And so after that, you would only hear track warrants for eastbound trains. And westbounds, the only way you would know if there was a train coming is if you could see the signals for westbound trains from the IC&E crossing, which is visible pretty much anywhere downtown to the actual diamond. Well, then BNSF quit issuing track warrants over the radio. And so now you have no idea when eastbound trains are coming unless you hear some sort of conversation on the radio between the two trains, just like we did. Now, speaking of which, that conversation that we heard was indeed from an eastbound train. It's coming right now. It is almost to us. So we're gonna sit back and watch this train, and then we're gonna see what else is out and about. Gates come down, we got our first train. It appears to be an eastbound coal train here in Ottumwa. And away we go. And there you have it, folks. That's our first train of the evening. Eastbound BNSF coal train with a pretty decent mix of locomotives. We had an SD70 ACE leading, ES44 AC second unit, and on the back, an old AC 4400 CW in the Heritage 2 paint scheme. Can't ask for a better mix of locomotives on a coal train these days on the BNSF, so that was pretty good. So I've gone ahead and rolled up the windows in the car and started her up. We're gonna do a quick sweep of any possible action that might be going on down here, and then we're gonna get ready for Amtrak, which will be approaching in, give or take, about 30 minutes. As A-Train just saw, if you saw in the chat, he said that 5 is departing Mount Pleasant. That was about 3 minutes ago, so they're probably well on their way now. So we're gonna go ahead and get a move on here and just kind of go on a little drive here. We haven't done this in a while. It's been a while. I'm trying to think of the last time I actually drove around Ottumwa during a live stream. Okay, I'm gonna adjust the camera here just to make sure it's level. It's hard to tell when you're actually parked. All right. But these new iPhone cameras have a much wider lens on them, so it's hard to tell when you're actually level or if it's just the curve of the wide lens. So we're going to go down a few blocks down to Clay Street or McLean Street, check out the signals down there just to make sure there aren't any westbounds coming, and then we will go from there. If there's nothing else coming, we will get ready for Amtrak. It's not going to be much longer, and there are going to be some extra little goodies on the train tonight. 3 goodies, actually. We'll talk about that as time goes on. Still a little crooked. There we go. Alright, so we're going to go back behind the water plant here. Might be a little hard to see right now. We're pretty much driving right into the sun, and I do apologize for all the bug splatterings on. Well, it's just that terror when you're driving around, and especially at dusk and late at night, bugs just bounce right off your car's windshield. Not much you can do about it. $6.57 for the California Zephyr. Estimated arrival into Ottumwa. It's about right. I'm trying to remember, is that the actual schedule departure for the Zephyr in Ottumwa now? I think it might be. Not too long ago, Amtrak adjusted the schedules a little bit for the Zephyr, and I think they actually adjusted them even further out west you go, to accommodate for some, the freight railroads wanted to lengthen the schedules to try and improve Amtrak's on-time performance. Which is kind of unfortunate when you really think about it, lengthening a schedule to maintain your on-time performance, but sometimes it works. But I don't think the schedules around here have changed really much. Yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to see when we come around the corner here on Gateway Drive. We're going to go down a few more blocks to, let's just go to McLean Street right now. Yep, A-Train does confirm. He says that 6:57 is now the new departure time. That's what I thought. It used to be 6:53. It was 6:53 for years. I mean, I would like to say almost more than a decade. Yeah, the camera's really having trouble focusing right now. We can fix that. Make the turn here at McLean Street. There we go. That's a lot better. I'm actually going to turn the camera a little more this way so you can see more of the approach as we come over the crossing. This is the McLean Street crossing. We've camped out here quite a bit. Let's see. The signals are all red, so that means that there are no westbounds in the vicinity. There might be some more eastbounds. So yeah, as I was saying earlier in the program, BNSF did away with issuing verbal track warrants, and so now it's very hard to determine whether there are eastbound trains coming in Ottumwa, unless you can see the signals. Which, to see the signals, you'd have to be on the west side of the IC&E crossing with the CPKC, which requires a drive down Paris Street, and then you have to actually physically get out of your car and walk up to the little levee by the tracks to look at the signal. So it's not very convenient. The only other way to do it is to go down to Vine Street and see what the signals say down there. That's also not very convenient because those signals don't light up very much in advance of a train, because those are still on the old automatic block signaling. There is no CTC on the east side of the CPKC diamond so far on BNSF. So when those signals light up, the train is probably just, a few minutes away, and they're not very accurate as far as determining where a train might be, because since they're in ABS territory, when there are no trains, they're green, as opposed to CTC, when typically when there are no trains, they're red, unless there's a movement line through. However, as mentioned earlier, there is some work going on BNSF right now that involves a change in signaling, potentially. They're doing work right now. BNSF is working on upgrading a crossover on the west side of town, which is the IC&E crossing, which allows trains to cross from Main 1 to 2, or Amtrak, if the case they're running around trains. They go from Main 1 to 2 on that crossover. Now, BNSF is upgrading this crossover because right now there is a speed limit of 10 miles an hour on that crossover, which is obviously not great for freight trains because they really have to slow down to go through that crossover. And for a long train, it is kind of blurry right here, right now. We're going to go back into the parking lot and maybe set up outside, get ready for Amtrak. Back to where we were before, since there are no other trains for now. So anyways, BNSF is in the process of upgrading the crossover on the west side of town, probably lengthening it to a certain extent, so there's not as much of a severe speed restriction on it. Now, not only that, there are also, from what I hear, they are also going to add another crossover on the east side of the train station, and this will allow Amtrak, or any other train I suppose, but specifically Amtrak, to cross from Main 2 to 1 going west. So right now they already have the ability to, go from Main 1 to 2 going eastbound. And I don't know if BNSF is going to put in a double set of crossovers where you can cross to either track from either direction. I don't know if they're going to do that on both sides or not. But the goal, from what I hear, is that they're going to put in crossovers on the east and west sides of the station to allow Amtrak to always use the platform on Main 1. Now, if you've been to Fort Madison, if you have watched the rail cams in Fort Madison and know how that station is, Amtrak is using the old Santa Fe station in downtown Fort Madison, which is, interestingly, the new Amtrak station, but it's the older station overall. Amtrak is stopping there now instead of their old station, which is actually the newer Santa Fe station in the BNSF yard. They no longer stop there. They now stop at the old Santa Fe station in downtown Fort Madison. It's a little confusing. But it's a much better location for a station in Fort Madison. And anyways, to accommodate Amtrak there, they did a very significant upgrade to the platform in Fort Madison, but only for Main 1. There's no platform for Main 2, so Amtrak always has to come in on Main 1 in Fort Madison to do their station work. Now, I'm sure there's some instances where they have to come in on Main 2, and maybe, you know, there's a little walkway across the tracks where passengers can walk across if necessary. But generally speaking, most of the time, they bring Amtrak in on Main 1 in Fort Madison to do all their station work because that's the only platform that the station has. So a similar thing is going to happen here in Ottumwa, which is different from, if you've watched some of my previous live streams, especially the ones from last year, where I was talking about all the platform improvements that are going on, and they're still going on right now at the Ottumwa station. I was talking about how they were going to cut the platform down in the middle and still have a platform in the middle for Main 2. But that plan apparently has changed. So the new plan, again, from what I've heard, is that the platform in the middle here in Ottumwa will be completely removed and it will not be being replaced. So the upgrades they've done to the Main 1 platform, those are the only upgrades they're going to do. And it looks really nice. One of these future live streams, I should go down there and show it to you guys. It's almost done. It is almost completely done. They've done a really good job on it, but apparently that's all they're going to do. Then they're going to remove the Main 2 platform, and that's it. They're not going to replace it. So the final goal is that Amtrak is going to use the platform on Main 1, just very similar to the way they do in Fort Madison, and there's going to be crossovers on either side of the station to allow Amtrak, no matter what track they're on, to always come in on Main 1 to do their station work. Now, this will also make the freight trains a little more fluid, because let's say there's a freight train coming on, well, for example, on Main 2 going east, and Amtrak's coming into the station on Main 1. Well, that's what they typically do anyways, so they can just come right on through the station. But let's say they're going east. Let's say Amtrak's going east. And used to be, they would almost always, not always, but usually come in on Main 2. Well, if there's any westbound freight trains coming on Main 1, they have to hold up at Iowa Avenue and wait for Amtrak to get their station work done before they can come on through. Now, in the event that BNSF installs CTC signaling through these new crossovers and through the Ottumwa station, which I have a feeling they're going to do, let's say there's a westbound freight train coming in, and maybe the dispatcher wants that train to get on through while Amtrak's doing their station work. Well, now with these new crossovers, they will have the ability to do that if they put in a crossover from Main 1 to 2. That'll allow the freight train to run over to Main 2, go by Amtrak, and then go back around to Main 1 on the other side. If they're putting in double sets of crossovers, we'll see. So it's interesting. Now, I don't like that they're getting rid of the middle platform, and that wasn't in the original plan. So I've, read the comments from people who have were behind some of the planning involved in putting these in, and they don't really understand how it got changed either, especially considering that the station here in Ottumwa is in a historic district, and there are very specific instructions on how to do all these improvements in the historic landmark. And I don't know how they were able to change that when it's in a historic landmark, but I don't know. Maybe the platforms weren't included in that since they're actually on the railroad tracks themselves or alongside them. But who knows? So I don't like the idea that they're getting rid of the middle platform, but I will compromise that they've upgraded the one platform, and it looks really nice. I mean, it looks very nice. They've done a really good job. I would rather take that one being upgraded and losing the middle platform than having both platforms go down so much that they have to be completely removed. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen now, so it's a fair trade. And you know, these upgrades with the crossovers and stuff, that'll make the railroad more fluid for the freight trains as well. Now, having discussed all this, this might improve rail fanning here in downtown Ottumwa, because I'm pretty sure, I'm not for certain, but I'm pretty sure that the east crossover, that is not there yet, but it's going to be, I am pretty sure that this east crossover is going to be in a place where there is an existing non-signaled hand-throw crossover, which is directly east of the Jefferson Street Viaduct here in Ottumwa. And I have never seen a train use that crossover. I suppose they did years ago, and it's still well maintained and probably could be used, but I've never seen a train use it. I'm guessing they're going to put in the new crossover there. Now, if they do, they're probably going to signal it. That way the dispatcher can actually control the switches. All right, guys, come on. There are trucks over here doing burnouts in the parking lot and zooming away. Where are the cops when you need them? And I don't know if that's illegal or not, but it's kind of foolish. But anyways, I'm guessing they're going to put in signals on these new crossovers, and if they do, that means that you will be able to see the signals for eastbound and westbound trains from downtown Ottumwa. And so you'll really be able to tell when there are trains coming. Again, for the first time since BNSF did away from issuing verbal track warrants over the radio. Because that crossover, if they're putting it in there, which I'm guessing they will, because there's been a lot of work vehicles and stuff down there, as one of my previous commenters here on the live stream mentioned. And there are BNSF workers, and they've got, you know, signal boxes and stuff down there. So I'm guessing that that is where they're going to put in the crossover or crossovers on the east side of the station. And if that's where they're going, you can see that pretty much through all of downtown, especially if you're on the east side of the station platforms here. And where we are right now, a little later in the day, you can probably see both sets of signals. From here, I can almost see the current ABS signals right next to the Vine Street crossing. Those are further down. You have to be about right here to see them. But if they put in new signals down where I think they're going to put the crossover, you'll be able to see those from pretty much anywhere in downtown. So that'll really help train watching here in Ottumwa. And we won't have to worry about hearing the track warrants or any of that other stuff anymore, because we've got the signals. Let's go back through some of these older comments here. A-Train asks, it's kind of what I was talking about earlier. I was like, didn't they receive money to restore both platforms? How can they change the plan? That's a good question. And some of the comments I've seen from other people, specifically one of the rail fans that I follow, he was actually a planner here in town and helped, you know, do the paperwork and some of the stuff for the work that they did. And he's kind of perplexed as to how they could change the plans either, especially in a historic district. So I don't know. That's an interesting question. Probably won't get the answer from, you know, anybody around here, but it's interesting. But like I said, I will take the upgrades on the main one platform over both of them going down and having to be removed any day. So I mean, in the end, I think it's probably going to be, it's okay. And I don't know if BNSF will ultimately come through and straighten Main 2, because it kind of bows around the existing platform. I don't know if they'll come in and straighten the track, or if that's really a big deal to them or not, but they might. Yeah, Dakota says center platform is one of the last things that sort of looks like it did back then, and it kind of is. I mean, the first time I ever stepped foot on the Ottumwa platform, you got to go all the way back to 1993 when I was, well, let's see. Geez, I was a year and a half, 1.5 years old. First time I was ever on the platform here in Ottumwa. And really from then to, I guess, when the roofs came off, not much had really changed. But things have changed now. But ultimately, it's going to be for the better. I mean, it's just nice that they're investing money into upgrading one of the platforms at all. And the platform that they did upgrade, the canopies, they're all original. They've been totally sandblasted, repainted, and upgraded. They're on new concrete pilings. But other than that, it's the original structure, new roofs, but they're pretty sure they're wooden roofs. And it's they look really nice. So, and the new lighting is all LED, but it's made to look old. So I mean, it's brighter light. So if you're down there watching trains at night, you'll have really good lighting. So, and obviously for the passengers, which is what it's intended for, it's going to be much better for them because now they've got an enclosed canopy to wait under, which they have not had for over a decade almost prior to these new upgrades. So it's a good thing all the way around. Just unfortunate we have to lose part of it, but I'd rather lose part of it instead of all of it. Jimmy says, welcome Jimmy. It says, advocate for a nice gazebo so folks can watch from there. A little shade, a bit of a barrier, gathering place, so to speak, for rail fans. You know, I think that might actually go over well in Ottumwa. I mean, I think Ottumwa as a whole for train watching is kind of underrated. I mean, I think it's, you know, of course I'm a little biased because I've watched more trains here than anywhere else on Earth, but you get a nice variety of trains through here. And it's not, you don't have the frequency as some of the other main lines like, you know, the BNSF Southern Transcon or the UP through Iowa. Although the frequency on that line is probably comparable to this nowadays with the fewer trains that UP is running. Or other popular spots like Fort Madison or, you know, Rochelle, Illinois, and all those other places. But it's still a really, I mean, you see a very wide array of trains. Along with the Zephyr, along with Amtrak, you've got BNSF coal trains, mixed freights, a couple of locals. On the CPKC, you have a bunch of different trains. Several daily manifests, some sand trains, obviously the new intermodal trains, 181 and 180. It's a lot of stuff. And there's more trains on the CPKC all the time. I mean, they are very active now. Way more than in years past, that's for sure. But CPKC has only been doing this for a couple of years. I mean, this is only well, not even 2 years. It's only just a little over 1 year that CPKC has existed. So, okay, so Amtrak is not going to be very far away. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the tripod, and we're going to get out of here and see Amtrak roll in. Hopefully, it doesn't roll in when I'm putting in the tripod, but we'll still get to see it from this vantage point regardless. So they should not be very far away. Shut the car off here. And get the tripod out and get ready. Okie dokie. We're ready to go. Get the scanner here and we'll be out and ready for our train. Now, it is a very nice day, photography-wise. Weather-wise, it is very hot. Last time I checked, the temperature was about 96 degrees with a heat index of like something like 110. So it's very steamy out here. Adjust the tripod a little, make this a little more level. Alrighty, so basically what I've been talking about, the new crossovers are probably going to go in basically just right over here a little bit. I'll just kind of zoom in. Down there you see the green bridge, that is the edge of the Jefferson Street Viaduct, and the crossover that exists there now, which is the non-signaled hand throw, very sharp crossover, probably a speed restriction of at least 10 miles an hour, is right on the other side of the Jefferson Street Viaduct. There's a lot of work going on down there. I've seen a couple of signal boxes, new signal boxes, and a bunch of BNSF workers. There's some ground being bulldozed over there. So I am guessing that that is where the new crossover is going to go. And I am also assuming that BNSF is going to put in signals there. I'm sure it's going to be a dispatcher-controlled crossover. So it probably will be signaled, which means we will be able to see the signals from here pretty much anywhere else downtown. So that is a very exciting development. Not necessarily that they're getting rid of the center platform at the station, but that they are putting in these new crossovers. It'll add some additional flexibility to railroad operations here in town on BNSF. So the crossing we're looking at right now, this is Market Street. And at one time, this was a much busier crossing and really a more dangerous crossing because there used to be a traffic light right here. And obviously, this was before the quiet zone, before the barriers in between the road went in. So it was a full intersection. I mean, people could turn left here or turn right if they're coming off of River Drive, and there was a traffic light there. And whenever the trains would start coming and the crossing gates would activate, the traffic light would go to a four-way stop, flashing red, and motorists on the north side of the tracks could, keep going as normal, providing they weren't turning across the railroad tracks. And motorists going north would have to wait for the train to go through before proceeding. But as I've used to see many times when trains would approach and the crossing gates would start, crossing bells would start ringing and that stoplight would start changing the flashing red, there would be this kind of, race to get across the tracks before the train would show up. And, it's kind of dangerous. So there'd be this, scattering of cars trying to get through the intersection or get across the tracks before the train came in, and it made it dangerous. And also, of course, back then you had the occasional unwise person who would go around the gates in front of trains. I saw that many times here. And there was actually an article years ago in the Des Moines Register of the most dangerous railroad crossings in Iowa. And this one was #1 on their list, which kind of surprised me because I had never heard of any accidents at this crossing in all the years I've been paying attention to trains. But I assume there probably were some years ago before I started paying attention, probably before I was born. But yeah, years ago, the Des Moines Register rated this as the most dangerous crossing in Iowa. On their list, in their opinions, I'm sure. But I'm sure it probably also had to do with the data that's collected from crossings on how many accidents and how many, and look at this. Technically, you're not supposed to do that. Oh. We got an eastbound train, folks. And number 5 just passed agency, so hopefully this train will get through before then. It probably will. So I'm guessing that motorist that we just saw make the illegal maneuver at the intersection didn't want to wait for this train, even though it's going to clear in just a couple minutes. But, you know, people are impatient. People don't want to wait. Well, it's always nice seeing SD70 Mac on any part in a train these days. And there was one of them, the first DPU on that eastbound coal train. That's our second train of the night. Not bad, all things considered. And Amtrak is probably just minutes away. So we're gonna get things all leveled up and ready for them. A train commented and said that they were passing agency just as that train went through. So that was about 5 minutes ago. There'll be a few more minutes before they get here. Speaking of which, here they come. Now, remember I said there were 3 goodies on the train tonight. You'll be able to see what those are pretty quick. Good thing that coal train passed through when it did. A couple minutes later and we would have been blocked. And it's almost as if they're like posing for the camera. In reality, they're stopping short of the whole platform because the far west end of the new platform still isn't done yet. But here we go. Here's 2 of what actually ends up being 4 of the goodies on this train. I was not aware of the 4th one, which A train just commented about. The baggage car actually has Polar Express lettering on it. Left over from the Amtrak Polar Express trains that they do in Chicago, most likely. But here are 2 of the 4 goodies on the train tonight. 2 private cars operated by the Patrick Henry Creative Promotions. The Warren R. Henry Dome Observation Lounge car. And then the Evelyn A. Henry sleeping car. I was aware of these cars coming due to a tip-off on train orders, which I'm pretty sure was the owner of the private cars commenting on train orders, saying that these cars would be running on this line tonight. They're going to be on a pretty substantial loop from, I don't know where these cars are based. They might be based out of St. Louis, but I'm not sure. They were going from, I believe, from St. Louis to Chicago, and then from Chicago to Denver. Obviously, they're on that leg right now. And they're going to have a slight layover in Denver. Then they're going to go to Oakland. And they're going to go down to Los Angeles on the Coast Starlight. And then, I don't know if they're going across on the Sunset and back up to St. Louis on the Eagle, or how they're getting back. I'll have to look at that post. It was only a few days ago on train orders.
When you're ready.
All right, they're going to pull up. And yes, these do look like the old American Orient Express cars, but I don't believe they are. I'll have to do some more investigating on the heritage of these cars, but I don't think these were part of the old American Orient Express. But they do have similar paintwork.
All right, and 5, when you're ready, we can pull down. Let's go 4 cars, second spot.
All right, they're going to pull down to do their second spot at the platform now. and we'll watch them pull up, and then we'll probably jump in the car and head on over to the west side of the platform for another run-by.
3 cars. Two more. Last one. That'll do when you get her stopped then, 5.
There we go.
About the anchors tonight.
And now they're stopped, so we're going to go ahead and get things hooked up in the car and get the tripod, and we'll make a mad dash down to the other side of the tracks for a additional run-by of the train. The Amtrak Zephyr is in the station in Ottumwa right now, making their second spot, and we're going to try and get to the other side and get them leaving. We're going to go ahead and clip things back on here in the car. I'm going to run and get the tripod, and we'll be on our way. Okie dokie, let's get rolling. Now, somebody commented that there's a lot of noise from the phone holder while I'm driving around. Not much I can do about that. Alright, so as you can see, there's Amtrak in the station. We're going to go ahead and jump down to... let's see. Okay, I know a lot of you guys request shots from the Diamond, so we're going to go ahead and go all the way down to the CPKC Gateway Drive crossing, and we'll get it from there. We'll get them going through the Diamond. I know a lot of you guys enjoy those shots, so, and I don't get them very much, so that's where we're going to go. Again, I apologize for the blurriness through here. It's a combination of the sun shining right in our eyes and the sunlight reflecting off all these bug guts on the windshield, so it makes the camera go kind of wacky, so I apologize for that. We're just in transit here, getting to the other side of the station. We'll get a better view. So we're going to go ahead and go on down to the Diamond with CPKC, and we'll see them cross kind of at a side view. This is the highway bridge underneath us, or over the top of us rather. We are underneath the bridge. Highway 149, it's the old Highway 63, Business 63. Now, of course, back in the day, Wapello Street just went right across the tracks, and some of it still exists underneath the bridge. Some people call that the new viaduct, which obviously it's not very new now. It's probably at least 30 years old, if not older. Probably pushing 40 years old. I'm guessing it was put in the 80s. So maybe earlier than that, I don't know. Before my time. So for those keeping tabs on the Ottumwa geography, there are 2 railroad crossings on Gateway Drive in town. The first one is on BNSF. Obviously, that's where most of the traffic in town is, on the railroad. And the other one, which gets fewer trains and significantly fewer automobiles, is the Gateway Drive crossing for CPKC. And the reason it gets, sorry for the blurriness, guys, but it's gonna correct itself once we get stopped. The reason for the fewer cars is because it's not really a main thoroughfare. In fact, it's only there for city vehicles to get down to a little dumping area and test site, and for some people who go to there's a little marina, I think, and some housing near the river on the other side of the tracks up here. Other than that, there's not really much else for cars to do out here. Go to those two places. And it's actually going to be in the shadows. That's okay. We'll get ourselves whipped around here and get in place. Now, I don't know if I've told you guys a story about these cinder blocks, but do not, and I repeat, do not park really close to these cinder blocks. Don't ask me how I know. This one right here that we just went by, which somebody's also run into the sign that's right there. I got too close to it the last time I was filming trains down here, and I scratched up the side of my car really bad. So it needed some body work. I was not very pleased, to say the least. But yeah, I'll never do that again. That actually happened, that was a couple years ago, I guess. But yeah, that was an unfortunate mishap. All right. So we're gonna get out of this. Okay, there we go. It's focused now. Okay. So like I said, it's going to be in the shade, but that's okay. We got a pretty sunny shot of it now. Anyways, we're gonna try. Well, they actually, I just now noticed they redid the crossing through here. It's not as rough anymore. Fresh pavement. This is still a pretty interesting view, though.
Track 5, I'm over an air test.
All right. Now, before I get the tripod up, we're gonna go ahead and get the phone on it here. And then we'll go ahead and extend the thing and zoom up on the crossing. It's a little jerky, so I apologize for that while we get the tripod up. A couple moments and we'll have it. Now, the CPKC has been uncharacteristically silent, which, like I said, with the increased amount of trains coming through here, it's kind of unusual.
Number 5, when you're ready, Eddie, I can copy now.
All right.
All right, bring it up here. Track warrant number 729-75. And the Amtrak 15 West. Checkbox 1, void authority number 729-73. Checkbox 2, 15 for CPKC help and CPKC Crescent Main
Zoom
1.
in, level her out one more time here.
This is the western limit of that. I got CPKC Alpha. The western limit of CPKC Crescent. Alpha to Crescent. 729-75 and PK Amtrak 15 west of the box 1, void authority number 729-73. Box 2, proceed CTC Alpha to CTC Crescent on main track number 2, 1 box mark 2. Is that correct? 2 boxes, but that was main 1, ONE, not the box 2. I like COO better, but we'll go with main 1. Alright.
All right. We're gonna get 5 one more time here, and then we'll get back into the car and see what else is going on. It's in the shade, but still a nice view nonetheless, and one that I don't get enough. So here we go, Amtrak 5, departing Ottumwa, right on schedule, heading west.
I agree on 730-58. We're all by the westbound. So same IC&E. You can give it up over.
There's the crew of the train giving up their track warrant now that they're on to CTC territory.
Amtrak 15 west with 730-58 for you. 715 west, 730-58 dispatch. Amtrak 15 west, reports clear track warrant number 730-58. The limit CPKC 2502 line railroad crossing. Reported there at 1900, 1900. MTK 15 west is reporting clear track warrant 730-58 between CTC, C252 and westbound Charlottesville, extra cross town 1900, 19000. After briefing, conductor and engineer agree that is correct. Time tonight of 46 and on time is 57. 46, 57. That's correct. Thank you much.
All right, so safe travels, Amtrak. Our next stop is going to be Osceola, about an hour or so. And after that, Creston. After that, Omaha. By then, it'd be about 11, 11:30 if they stay on time. Give or take a midnight arrival in Omaha. Well, we're going to head back to the car. I don't think there's any, well, of course, like I said, we don't know if there are any eastbounds. Hopefully we don't miss anything, so we better get a move on. I'm gonna go ahead and lightly lift up the tripod here, lower things down. We'll get back to the car and we'll see what else is going on. We'll go on for another 20 minutes or so, see if anything else is happening. Yeah, Iowa, let's see, Iowa trains just informed me there's an eastbound coal train coming up on Albia with track to the Diamond, should have an ACE leader. However, that is going to be probably another 45 minutes to an hour from now, so probably will not worry about that one. Now, before I end today's stream, probably right before I do, we're going to go on a little adventure, miniature adventure on the road to a new bit of road that they just opened that I know a lot of Ottumwans, myself included, are very excited to finally be done. We'll talk about that a little bit later, as I do my traditional update of my current projects, what I'm working on, what I will be working on. That's a pretty exciting list, and might answer some of you guys' questions. Now, one of you, I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked me if I saw CP 2816. So one of your questions there will be answered momentarily. All right, get the camera back in here, get it all hooked up, and we'll be back on the road. Now, I wonder if one of these little bits of bug guts is causing the camera to not focus properly. Let's see if we can get rid of those real quick. No. Come on. Oh. A little more. I'm going to use all my windshield washer fluid on this. Well, it's okay. It'll get better. I think it already is a little bit. So anyways, I'm gonna need the tripod in here and we will hit the road. Ah, yay, that must have done the trick. All right, so we are going to do another sweep of the tracks here and make sure nothing else is coming. Make sure there's nothing lined up going west behind Amtrak. But to do a quick recap on Amtrak, there were originally, I thought there were only 3 so-called goodies, like, you know, grab bag sort of things. If you watch the virtual railfan cameras, they do a grab bag feature, and it's like a compilation of all the, you know, special or cool or unusual things seen on trains, something that railfans regard to as, you know, important or good catches. And that's what I just described as goodies on Amtrak tonight. There were, as it turns out, I thought there were only 3, there were 4 goodies on tonight's train. The first one, consist-wise, was the second locomotive, number, I believe it was 187, was one of the new Phase 7 P42 repaints. Now, the engine itself isn't new, but the repaint is. Amtrak has been repainting engines, older engines, into the new livery, Phase 7. And I believe there are maybe 8 P42 locomotives that have the Phase 7 paint now. All right, being very careful to not have close encounters with that cinder block again. Here we go. Yeah, they redid this crossing. It's a lot better now. All right. Now, the second goodie on Amtrak in the order of the consist was the baggage car, which I did not realize was a goodie until I saw it. It was one of the Polar Express baggage cars that Amtrak used during their Polar Express train rides in Chicago, which unfortunately I don't think they're doing those anymore, but they have for the past few years. Go ahead and hang a left here onto Clay Street. Gateway Drive goes straight ahead there. The Clay Street crossing. Make sure there's nothing else coming. And I think I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of angle the phone a little better here, so you can see a little more ahead and maybe down. There we go. That's better. Nobody's behind me, so we're good. Signals are still lit. Usually means there's something still in the plant, but the signals are red. Let's see if this is anything. This is Main Street. We're going to go ahead and turn right. Now the third and fourth, let's see. No, nothing. Now third and fourth goodies on that train were the 2 private cars on the end. Patrick Henry private cars on a big loop out west, stopping in Denver, then going out west, and coming back. Like I said, I don't know if they're based in St. Louis, but I think they started their trip in St. Louis. I was actually in St. Louis a couple weeks ago with my wife, father-in-law. We went and saw a baseball game at Busch Stadium. Which obviously, if you follow any of my previous videos and live streams, you know that I am a Cubs fan. I'm not a Cardinals fan. But my father-in-law is a big Dodgers fan, so we went and saw the Cardinals and Dodgers. Cardinals, of course, won, so, you know, it is what it is. But I've been to Busch Stadium a few times. It's a very nice ballpark. And our motel was actually overlooking Union Station in St. Louis, which has been restored. The station head house is now a hotel, and the old mall that was built in the 80s in the old St. Louis Union Station train shed has been transformed into an aquarium and a few other little shops and restaurants. And there's a big Ferris wheel outside of the train shed, kind of where the remaining 4 tracks are that still exist going into Union Station. So our motel was overlooking all of that. I could see the private cars that are in Union Station. Then you could see the trains on the main line near the Amtrak station, and you could also see the Metrolink light rail trains going into the tunnel before Union Station. That was pretty neat, a pretty neat vantage point. And then through the other windows, you could see the Ferris wheel. That was all lit up at night. That was a pretty neat place to stay. Neat seeing all that out your window. It's a pretty neat look. Now, as far as other events coming up, some of you probably know, most of you probably know, that in just a couple of days, 2 more days in fact, the Old Threshers reunion in Mount Pleasant will be happening very soon, in just 2 days. And obviously, I'm planning to be there all 5 days, getting footage for my Old Threshers video that I always do, and volunteering on the trains a little bit as well, spending time with the family, of course. Have a good time, looking forward to it. That is in just a couple of days. Focus. Yeah, the sunlight is really causing the camera to have a bad time focusing, but we're going to take you to that road work for the end of the video. A road that's recently been completed. And maybe we'll stop and answer a few more questions before the end. Nice night here in Ottumwa. Very hot, but it's nice regardless. So that's looking forward to Old Threshers as usual. Always look forward to Old Threshers. Now, another thing that happened recently that I just did was I went on a kind of a whirlwind trip to Hannibal, Missouri last weekend with the hopes of seeing one of the final Norfolk Southern road railer trains. Unfortunately, I was unsuccessful because the train didn't come through in the time that I had allotted to be there. I thought it would come through before sunset. I waited until about 6:30 and there was no sign of anything, and they raised the bridge up over the Mississippi, so I figured it was going to be a long time before it showed up, so I ended up leaving before it came. But I did actually see a few other trains in Hannibal, a couple of BNSF trains and a Norfolk Southern local that went down to the little yard in Hannibal and turned around and went back over the river. So I got to see it a couple of times, which that was cool. It was powered by a little Norfolk Southern GP60, which I had never gotten video of one of those engines in NS paint before. So that was neat. So it wasn't a total wash, but I wish I could have seen that road railer train. As many of you probably know, well, those of you that are following the railroad news, today was actually yesterday, was the final run of the Norfolk Southern road railer trains. And that was the last road railer train in America. So they're all done now. NS is planning on replacing the road railer trains with normal intermodal trains. So the service still goes on, but the uniqueness of the road railers has ended. I am very thankful, though, that I was, in all my trips to Hannibal over the years, growing up and filming down there, I was able to catch one road railer train years ago coming through Hannibal, and it was actually powered by a Norfolk Southern -940 CW, which that was pretty neat to see. So we're going west on Highway 34. Might be able to give you guys a brief little description of what may or may not be in the CPKC yard if you go down here. So over the years, like the past 11 years, I guess, I've gotten footage in Hannibal of trains, and I haven't done anything with it yet. I've gone to Hannibal 3 more times since the initial time of getting a lot of trains there in 2013. And, you know, eventually, I have no idea when I'm going to make it, obviously, but eventually I'm going to make a video of the trains in Hannibal. I have not made an entire video devoted to the trains of Hannibal in quite a few years. So, in fact, I'm pretty sure the last time I did a video that was mostly all Hannibal was the only time I saw one of those road railer trains. You have to go all the way back to 2007 for that. So I think what we're going to do before we end the stream is we're going to park here in Walmart really quick, answer a few questions, and then we'll go back through the new and improved intersection here in Ottumwa that was recently completed. My wife just tipped me off that it's open now, so we're gonna go through it live for the first time ever, for me that is. There was nothing in the CPKC yard, by the way. We just went by the turn. Should do these more often. Like I said, I haven't done this since October of last year. It's fun to do these occasionally during times when I don't really need any actual video, but I still want to put out some content. The neat thing about doing these live streams is that you get to see everything happen live in real time. Okay, we'll park in Menards. I'm a huge fan of Menards for, you know, probably an obvious reason for a lot of people that follow train news is that Menards has their own line of O-gauge trains and accessories. And of course, my scale of trains that I collect is O-scale. So suffice to say, I've bought quite a bit of train stuff from Menards over the past 10 years or so since they've been putting out products. All right, we're gonna stop here really quick and answer some of the questions, comments that you guys have been leaving, which I haven't had time to answer a lot of them because I've been busy filming. Let's go back up here to, okay, right about here. Yeah, A-Train commented that apparently the air conditioner on engine 15 on the Zephyr has failed. And that's probably not going to be fun when you're going through 95-degree southern Iowa. But thankfully for the engineer, the sun is going down, so it will get a little cooler. Okay, make a comment, some more information. Okay, Railfan 1995 sent me Orient Express cars. I wonder if he left something before then. Ask someone about getting a Santa Fe -9 to be preserved into a museum and to see if you can get a camera to show the railco yard. Huh. Those are interesting ideas. You know, Steel Highway rail cams has put up a lot of rail cams in not as active areas, but there's still areas of interest. I don't know if there's anybody out there that would be able to host a camera overlooking Railco, and I don't know how much Wabtec, which owns Railco now, I don't know how much they'd be in favor of that. I do know that security around there can be kind of interesting. I know they've run off some rail fans before that have, you know, kind of crossed over into private property. But if you stay on that road and don't go across the Iowa Southern tracks, of course, you're probably okay. But that's interesting. There's interesting ideas. And it would be nice if BNSF would repaint one of their old -9s into Santa Fe or like a heritage scheme, something like that. And I do know that the Railroading Heritage of Midwest America, they have a BNSF -8 that they are going to repaint into the Santa Fe Superfleet War Bonnet paint scheme. So that'll be cool. And as far as I know, that -8 is operational. They just, the paint work on it's really bad, but they're going to repaint it eventually. So there's one War Bonnet freight engine that's fairly newer that's going to be preserved near here. Now, I think it was Dakota. He asked me if 2816, if I saw CP 2816. Yes, I did. Many times, actually. I saw it, believe it or not, the first time I saw it, which was totally by coincidence, was in the Twin Cities, in St. Paul, when they were stopped at Union Depot. My wife and I and friend were up there for a concert, and we just happened to be there. It was already a planned trip when 2816 was coming in. I had no idea that they would be there, but it was a nice coincidence, and I was able to slip down there for a little bit and get some pictures. Stopped at St. Paul, and then later, a couple days later, I got them in Hastings, Minnesota, coming south. And then the second time I got them was, of course, when they came through Ottumwa, chased them all the way down to Lucerne, Missouri. And then I got them coming back, chased them from Foster, the Foster Trestles, on up to Ottumwa and coming up Rutledge Hill. And then a couple days later, I made the little drive up to Silvis, to the Railroading Heritage of Midwest America complex, where I got to see them running back and forth at their little event that they did, their walk amongst the giants event that they did. Didn't pay to go in and see the steam engines because that was a lot of money. But I did get to see 2816 there. That was the last time I saw them before they hit the road back to Canada. But I did get to ride on their little passenger train there behind UP 6936. So I got a bunch of video of that too. So speaking of that, that's coming up in my next video that I'm working on. It's going to be, it's called Arrival of CPKC. And it's going to be a montage of Canadian Pacific footage along with CPKC freight trains and, of course, the Final Spike Steam Special. All the footage that I got in Minnesota and Iowa and Missouri and Illinois. So that's coming up. I'm working on the video right now. I've just almost finished getting the initial video tracks laid out. And I'm gonna have to do some serious editing to get it down into the time frame that I'm looking for, but it's in the works. It's gonna be my next video released. And then I've got a clean slate, and which is good because Old Threshers is coming up. So this time, maybe, I'm hoping, I'm going to get the Old Threshers video out very quickly after Old Threshers, like maybe just a couple months after Old Threshers instead of, like May or April the following year. So that'll be my next project. And after that, it's back to a clean slate. There are a bunch of possible videos that I could do after that, but I'm leaving my options open to see what I feel like doing, what I have time for, etc., etc. I have almost all the footage from my California Zephyr video that I talked about last year in my live stream from Galesburg. I say almost because there are a couple shots that I didn't get in the Chicago area that I'd like to get. I don't know if I'll have time to get up there again this year to get them. And then I might redo the shot that I got trackside in Burlington. We'll see. Other than that, all the footage is there for that video, so I could always do that one next. But again, I don't know. I was thinking of doing that one after getting the Old Threshers video from last year released this May. But with all the CPKC excitement from 2816, I wanted to get that video out earlier since it's still, you know, fairly recent. So I decided to do that one first. But yeah, that's coming up next, the CPKC video, and then Old Threshers will be after that, after Old Threshers is over. Let's see. Yeah, Iowa Trains told me about the upcoming train, which I'm not going to get because it's probably still 30 minutes away or so. Jimmy says 7 p.m. Got to go. Thanks for the live stream. You're welcome, Jimmy. Thanks for tuning in. Got a pretty good reception for the first live stream in a while. A-Train says, I just had someone tell me about construction just got done in Ottumwa a few minutes ago. So I'm guessing we can get through there. We're going to find out because that's going to wrap up our stream. The viewers that are still tuned in, you're in for a treat. I'm being moderately sarcastic, but not really. We'll talk about it later. Dakota asks, did you go to the balloon races this year? Yes. Didn't get any video of them, but we did go down there. Pretty fun. It was, if I remember right, it was very hot though, but it was a good deal. Dakota also says, speaking of Old Threshers, I did hear that we are on track to maybe seeing number 9 next year. Yes. I saw the posts recently of the Durango and Silverton contractors are in town in Mount Pleasant. They are working on the engine, and yeah, most likely I'm assuming, I'm pretty confident that we'll probably see it next year, which I'm glad, because that is the Shea is a very neat engine to see at Old Threshers, and I'm really glad it came back from Colorado. It was a long 7 years without it in Mount Pleasant. I'm also hoping, of course, I'm sure this is way down on their to-do list, but I'm hoping that the little tank engine 16 will be fixed eventually, which it runs, but they just have to do a boiler inspection and stuff before they actually run it again. But it hasn't run for well over a decade, and it's a fun engine to see running, so I really hope they get it back up and going here sometime in the future. Dakota asked, did I hear they're also going to be painting something in SPSF? Yes, there is I think it's an FP45 or an F45 that's in Relco now that is allegedly, and I'm pretty sure this is legit, they're going to repaint it in the Kodachrome SPSF paint scheme. And I think it is in Relco right now. But it's been in there for a while, so. But I don't know if it's, oh yeah. A-Train commented further down, someone private bought the F45 that's at Albia. So, yeah. It's probably a ways down on the to-do list for Wabtec because, you know, they're doing work for railroads. They probably get those done first before they work on something that's some fan or private operator. I think the owner owns a short line. So, but I don't think it's a very pressing issue. So it's probably, you know, waiting to get its turn. It'll eventually come out. And when it does, it'll be pretty easy to catch, either in front of Wabtec or in that area, up on the interchange track with BNSF. Haha, Dakota also asks me, one last question, did you see the 6988 move? Well, that's really interesting that you would ask that question, and your answer is, yes, I did. It was kind of a random thing. I heard that they were taking the engine, 6988, for those that don't know, is the Iowa Interstate QJ that had been running the past few years, and it's down for its FRA inspection. And I heard that they were towing it west to the state fair. I think it actually went to a private event for Iowa Interstate's anniversary, which was also recently, but it was near the state fairgrounds. I think it might have been at the new Transload facility in Des Moines. But anyways, I knew about that, and my wife and I, and family, we were at the state fair at the time when I heard that. And I'm like, man, we just went a day later, we could have seen this. But then it's like, well, it's probably going to take them a while to get here. And so I didn't really think much else of it. Now, something else I've really gotten into recently is filming the Union Pacific Oskaloosa subdivision. Because some of you may know that there has been a UP patched former Southern Pacific GP60 that has been leading the local freight on the Oskaloosa subdivision. And so I've really gotten into, for the first time, filming trains on the UP Oskaloosa subdivision, pretty much down the entire line between Marshalltown and Eddyville. It's a really fun line. If you're looking for a really photogenic rail line, and really there are not very many photographs of it out there. I think there are more now than there were just a couple of years ago. And if you're looking for a really neat railroad to photograph, go catch a train on the UP Oskaloosa sub. There's only one, but you can catch it. It's a really neat train to see. So anyways, I was in the process of doing that. And of course, the UP Oskaloosa sub crosses the Iowa Interstate at Grinnell, next to the old Grinnell train station, right there at the Diamond. And believe it or not, I was in the process of chasing the UP local, and I could hear on the Iowa Interstate frequency on my radio as I got close to Grinnell that there was a train that was stopped, and they were inspecting it. And I thought to myself, I knew that 6988 was coming through that day, but I just assumed that it would be by long before I got back to Grinnell. But the thought crossed my mind, wouldn't it be neat if that train was going through by the time I got back to Grinnell? And believe it or not, that's exactly what happened. I got to the station, there were all these rail fans all over the place, and the special train went through on the Iowa Interstate. The UP local pulled up and stopped before the Diamond, and the Iowa Interstate train went through. Engine 519 was in the lead, pulling 6988, and one of the tool car, and one of the excursion coaches, and the two Iowa Interstate business cars. So I was able to see that, and it was just kind of I was in the right place at the right time kind of deal. And then right after that, the UP local went through, and I chased it all the way south. So it is, that was really cool to see. Did not think I would get to see 6988 again until they got it restored, got the boiler rehabbed. But as far as I know, I think they took it back to Newton. I think they're going to store it and maybe do the work back in Newton instead of Silvis. I just assumed they were going to do the work there in Silvis, but apparently not. I think they took it back to Newton, and that's where it is. And obviously 7081, the other QJ, is still there as well. No idea if they're going to restore it. I don't know. I mean, is it possible they might do both at the same time? Probably unlikely, but it's possible. But unlikely, I'm sure, because 7081 has not operated for well over a decade. Of course, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's stored serviceable, essentially. I mean, they just need to do the boiler work on it, just like they do 6988, and then, it's good to go. So I guess it just depends on what Henry Posner wants to do. It'd be nice if they got both of them overhauled, but kind of like the station platform in Ottumwa, I am okay with one getting restored than none. So, but yes, as Dakota just said, it's cool seeing all the different steam stuff going on in and near Iowa, and it really is. I mean, that's something that people don't really think about. There are a lot of steam trains that come through Iowa, that have come through Iowa in the past 2 years, and obviously the Iowa Interstate trains, Old Threshers, the steam trains are always going there. The Boone and Scenic Valley, they just overhauled 8419, their JS class Chinese engine. So it's running up there in Boone every weekend now, probably through, October. And then, of course, you've got 2816 that just came through, and the big boy is going to be coming through Iowa next week, in fact. I unfortunately will not have time to go see it this time, but last time it came through Iowa, I got to see it very extensively, and that video is actually up on YouTube right now. I actually finished it about this time last year. So if you have a chance to see that, it's called Union Pacific in Iowa. Let's go check that out, and that'll show you all the adventures I had with the UP Big Boy in 2019, the last time they came through Iowa. So I won't be able to get them this time when they come through next week, but hopefully some of you guys can. All right, so with that, I think I've done a little description of what I'm doing and answering some questions. We're gonna go check out this latest bit of Ottumwa roads that have opened, and then we're going to wrap it up for the night. It's been a pretty good night, all things considered. Been going for just a little over an hour and a half. We saw 3 trains. We saw 2 eastbound BNSF trains and Amtrak. Amtrak had a lot of goodies on it. So it's been a good day. Good evening on the railroad and here in Ottumwa. And, it's been pretty popular with you guys tonight. I think the most viewers I had at one time tonight was like 25, 26. Not bad considering this is the first time I've done a live stream in a long time. So we're gonna do one more thing before we end the live stream tonight, and we're gonna talk about it now. Now, some of you that do not know about Ottumwa and the geography and the roads in Ottumwa, you may not realize that there are a bunch of roundabouts in Ottumwa. With the opening of this latest one, there are now four roundabouts in Ottumwa. The first one opened, I like to say, like 2007, 2008, so it's been there for a long time. And it's a big roundabout on the highway where 63 and 34 meet. Wow. I just got a notification from the Cubs that Dansby Swanson just hit a grand slam. That's good news. So we can hope they're leading their game. But anyways, there are 4 roundabouts in Ottumwa now. The next 2 were opened pretty much consecutively. I like to say it was probably 2016, 17 maybe when those went in. I don't remember exactly, but and they are right next to each other. The intersection of Richmond and Ferry, and then the intersection of Ferry and Albia Road. And like I say, those 2 roundabouts opened at pretty much the same time. So that brought Ottumwa's roundabout count to 3. Well, Ottumwa thought it was going to be a good idea to put in another roundabout, and this has been talked about for a little while, and they just started working on it, and apparently, according to my wife that just tipped me off a little while ago, and some other people here on the live stream, apparently it just opened. It is at the intersection of Quincy and Albia Road. So there are now 2 roads in Ottumwa that have 2 roundabouts on them. Ferry Street and Albia Road have 2 roundabouts on them now. And we are going to go to the newest one that just opened. And this one, interestingly enough, this is the 2nd roundabout in Ottumwa that has replaced a traffic light, which kind of sounds backwards when you really think about it. Like, how in the world could a traffic circle be more efficient than a traffic light? But in these instances, they are, or they've determined that they are. They're definitely a lot easier to upkeep because there's no traffic devices, just a bunch of signs in a circle. And it does keep traffic moving, providing people know how to use roundabouts, which in this town, it is kind of up for grabs as far as whether people know how to use them or not. So anyways, I still see the signs are still up down there that the road is closed, but we're just going to keep going and see what happens. Let's hope I don't, let's hope they're not just testing it or something and I go through it and I'm not supposed to, but we'll see. This is exciting. I'm being moderately sarcastic, but another way I'm not, because this road, if you want to get from the south side of town, gee whiz, people, if you want to get from the south side of town up here to some of the shopping areas like the mall or Hy-Vee and all that stuff, you got to go all the way around on Wildwood Drive and double back on Mowry Street, which is right there to our right as we're going by, instead of coming through here. Yeah, people are already going through. All right, we're gonna go through the roundabout, the brand new roundabout here in Ottumwa for the first time. You better not turn in front of me. You better not. For the first time, we are gonna go through the brand new roundabout. This is my first time coming through it, and it's going to be captured on video for all posterity. Here it is. Wow, it's pretty big. Cool. Well, that's going to be a big relief for a lot of people who live down here on the south side and have usually cut through to go by Smokin' Joe's there to go to all the businesses down there by the mall. And now we don't have to go all the way around anymore. All of us can just go right through on that new roundabout. All right, so yeah, A-Train says you should have kept circling. Okay, we're gonna go around this way on this roundabout, and then we're gonna go back around the other way on the other roundabout, just so you guys can see all four sides of it. This is like the tour of roundabouts. Now, if we were to go to the right, we would get to the other roundabout. That's right next to this one. So we're going to do a big U-ey around this one, essentially. And I think the sun is down, so there's the barricade. Ignore it because it doesn't apply anymore. Yeah, and as Dakota mentioned, people would be cutting through Fairway to kind of get around the construction without going the long detour way. And that could pose some dangerous situations because the original road going into Fairway was only one lane. So you'd have instances where people would be coming right at each other. But this is going to take a little getting used to because I'm so used to seeing traffic lights here instead of a roundabout. All right, this time we're going to go all the way around. It looks nice, though. It's very nice. And we're going to go around again. And we're going to stop because there's the police. Now, I don't think it's illegal to go around and around on the roundabout, but I don't want this to turn into a European vacation. Oh, look, there's Big Ben, House of Parliament. That was a pretty funny scene in that movie. All right, guys, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. As always, the stream will be archived, so you'll be able to watch it later if anybody missed any of the excitement. We saw 3 trains. We got to experience a few roundabouts and got to hear about some of my upcoming projects. And time permits, we'll do some of these again sometime. So thanks for watching, guys. This is Bobby Harvey, and we'll see you all next time. So long.